Hello everyone and welcome to another Schmeat video. As you can tell, I've been rolling out these videos with this simple setup that I've told you guys about for the last couple videos. But today's video is a little different. It's actual breaking news. It's not analyzing a game we had. It's not talking about Malik Monk's success in LA. This is rather talking about a trade proposal that I saw on Twitter, which if anybody knows Twitter, that it's not very, how do you say it, likely that it's going to happen, because nearly every Twitter account that I see on my timeline on Twitter pushes these narratives about a player likely to be traded or the team's looking for a trade, and only about 5 to 10% of that actually happens. So take this video with a grain of salt while I talk about PJ Washington. But I thought I would talk about it because it's not, you see a lot of trades for players going to LA because it's big market. It gets you that publicity, but you don't see many trades revolving around a Charlotte Hornets player, especially a player in PJ Washington. You could see one for Gordon Hayward. I've seen those throughout the year because he has such a big contract. He is pretty good. He had 30 points last game. But you don't really see one for a six-man like us that's not on the Lakers or the Bulls or the Warriors, which it's exciting. It is exciting because PJ Washington is a player who last season very coveted, had a great year last year. I made a video about him last season about how he really, his stats are the same that they were from his first year to his second year last season. He's on his third year this season, that the stats were the same, but his playing style, his decision-making, his shot selection was a lot different. It was, more improved. And I think he's improved in his limited role this season, obviously with, Miles Bridges having a huge impact this season for us. I believe he had 22 or 21 points last game for us. With stars in LaMelo, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward. PJ Washington kind of had to take a back seat on the bench because we still don't have a viable center. Obviously, he gets subbed in for Mason Plumlee very, very often, but he still is in a limited role off the bench. What PJ Washington brings to a team is still pretty good. It's very good. He has, three-point shot making, which is very coveted at that 4 position. He can guard centers. You can't expect him to guard, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, or, even Nikola Vucevic, but you can expect him to guard, the centers on the Magic, on the, what's another bad team? You can expect him to, guard Clint Capella. Like, that's probably the tier that he can guard 5. And he can guard the 4s. He can guard a wing at the 3 position. He's pretty versatile. And to see him in the trade talks is very interesting because I know we have to pay people this offseason. I made a video after our Hornets win that Terry Rozier had a great game, and I made a statement that he's an unrestricted free agent. Do we want to pay him or Miles Bridges? And then, I don't know if it's this offseason or next offseason. I don't have the timetable in front of me, but we are going to have to pay LaMelo and PJ Washington and Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier. We can't pay all of them. Unless Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier expect a pay cut, which I don't think, most NBA players like to accept that fate because they want their money, rightfully so. So one of them has to go. And I said, probably Terry Rozier, since we drafted James Bouknight in free agency. Well, if PJ Washington's on the trade block, we trade him for a salary dump and a pick, that could impact our future with our other players. And I don't know if I'd be okay. I'd have to see what we'd get in return, and say we trade him for a bench player, and even, he's a bench player, but even a worse bench player and a first-round pick, but we still lose Terry Rozier in the offseason because he's unrestricted. Is that really worth it? I think we would rather just keep PJ Washington around and just, deal with the fact that he our cap space is going to be tight going forward. That's where it becomes interesting, because if we didn't have a cap hold on, just like baseball doesn't have a cap hold where they have to spend under a certain amount, if the NBA didn't have that, it'd be very interesting the amount of players a team could keep, and just give max money to every player on that team. So it'll be interesting with PJ Washington, what team needs them, what team needs him on their team. I think a variety of teams. I think even though the Mavs have Maxi Kleber, I think PJ Washington at that 4 position with Porzingis, if you can convince him to slide him to the 5, I think that's a great fit. There's a crazy amount of teams. I saw this one team, I'm forgetting on Twitter. Oh, I know what it is. The Rockets. One of the trades I saw, it was PJ Washington, Kai Jones, and I think a first-round pick for Christian Wood. I would do that in a heartbeat. Kai Jones, I made a video about him, how he's our hidden talent. Yeah, he's very hidden. He's played like 2 minutes for us, so I wouldn't mind getting him away. And because Christian Wood is an established, very good, but very injury-prone center in this league. But I would, in a heartbeat do that. PJ Washington, Kai Jones, and a first-round pick for Christian Wood in a heartbeat. So I just wanted to come on here, and I just thought it was interesting that PJ Washington was in rumors, and I know I follow him on Twitter, and he is very active on Twitter, so I am, probably 90% certain that he saw the little article that was made about him, that the Hornets are looking for a trade for PJ Washington. Obviously, as I said at the start of this video, take it with a grain of salt, because the Indiana Pacers said they wanted to trade nearly half their roster, and they haven't made a trade yet. Obviously, the trade deadline is when you near that trade deadline, the week or 2 weeks before it, a lot of trades are going to happen. So I'm not saying none of them are going to happen, but it'll be interesting what does happen at this trade deadline, because I could see a couple players getting moved. Kelly Oubre's value right now is insane. Gordon Hayward does not fit our timeline. He could be traded, especially if he keeps on this pace where he's just super consistent. 30 points last game is just out of the blue. He usually hovers between that 10 points per game to 20 points per game and doesn't really fall out of that. So it'll be interesting, this trade deadline. I'll keep you guys posted whatever I see on Twitter. And yeah, thanks for watching.